Alright, you guys, Supreme Kami over here. So we are going to be doing an Alteration video for the Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom today. I will do another separate video dedicated to the Phantom Gundam as well. So let's actually, before talking about some Alteration stuff for these two folks over here, or specifically for the Perfect Strike Freedom, let's talk about the value of the banner, like what you want to look out for in terms of the Perfect Strike Freedom. Is this even something you want to be summoning for? In terms of the Perfect Strike Freedom, I would say it's quite a disappointment and quite a shocking surprise on how they were building it out. You guys will eventually find out as we're going to the part that this is seemingly a dual type build for sure. You got the bow sword and then the launcher pack type S scope here. But what like my letdown for this one is that they did not pack the full burst, like the Phono Dragoon shooting out. For some whatever reason, they just gave us like a rail cannon bombardment range. I'm like a bombardment magazine time. I'm like, interesting enough for what they did. I thought are we gonna get eventually like a free-to-play version of all these battlogue suit? That's just spitballing right now. I don't think we are. I know that for sure we are gonna be getting one for Helios, but in terms of what the other characters are probably not, right? So like I don't know why. Like of all the EXQ they could have done for the Perfect Strike, but they won with like a bizarre version of it. So I don't know. And then in terms of this guy over here, your Vortex are looking at Gundam type, high firepower, and then ace exclusive. So it's gonna be more of like an easy to build shooting base unit over here. You're not gonna get, let's say, Commander for example, that goes along really well with ace exclusive. You're not getting that treatment over here. I'm just gonna be getting like a basic standard package of like a good shooting base unit. So I would say high firepower and Gundam type are forever gonna be rivalry in terms of like what you want to be actually using. Because if you are gonna be using Commander, you have to drop either one, right? High firepower and Gundam type you can definitely run them both together. But if you're going for like the most optimal, like the highest stats possible, Commander would definitely need to slide right into that. But if you guys are just casual player who just want to build something for fun, for leisure, I would say ace exclusive Gundam type and high firepower for this specifically is gonna work like a charm. So but in terms of the other one, let's actually dive in. Before a disclaimer, starting right now, because we are able to access the 40% change here, in terms of the stat that I would be presenting, they will be bumped up to 10%. So what I usually do for these alteration 2s, I do the whatever melee or shot plus the 40% change gear variations. So that's what we're going to be looking at. In terms of the stat that you'll be looking at my some of my older alteration videos, they'll be like, look at these stats, they look a little bit inflated just because it's going to be with that 40% change gear. So without further ado, let's actually take a look into the head to begin with over here. So 9 parts, so this might take a little bit longer. So looking at this over here, you do see that a shooting unit or a shooting unit head actually having some armor, which is good because generally, if you look at this the original Strike Freedom, that man has no armor, like, so he's just like a glass cannon. It hits hard, but you're gonna take a lot more in return. So that is that. In terms of head over here, what are going to be looking at in terms of the shot variant, you're going to be looking at 11,855, which is good. But we're talking about rank number 1 so far. You're still looking at the build project. What is it? The straight no name. But the only problem with that version, it has the EX skill in the head, that's a big no-no. That's like a big. You can just kind of skip it, right? So this one is good. Work check wise, ace exclusive and high power. Definitely one of the better combo you can be looking at, or one of the most generic one you be looking at. So that you can kind of say ace exclusive and Gundam type can work. But in terms of EX skill or the part check wise over here, this is where I would say it's good. Reason being, I say that it's gonna be a double EX skill boosting. So for whatever reason, you want to slap this onto your melee build and want to get a little bit of a power from your EX skill, this will actually do. Because EX skill power, like in terms of EX skill power, it does not, there's no disparity between using melee EX skill, or you get the same amount of power, but the only drawback is going to be whatever stats. So in terms of like a shooting base build, you're not going to have the most optimal melee EX skill output anyway, right? This one is good, but my only, let's say, kind of like a like a step back at this is the first portrait is only to an arm, which is like, I mean, it's good because the casino EXP on the perfect strike freedom is actually an arm, so that's why they want to bump out as much damage on that one as possible. But if this one was anything up, let's say a little bit more generic, let's say they give us a little bit of a handicap instead of like to arm, I would say it's still good. You can argue that a second portrait is also bad in terms of condition because not many people, not a lot of people will, let's say, use high firepower. Some use Gundam types, so that can be a bad thing as well. So it really depends on what you guys like, what you guys need. If this one satisfy your whatever presence, obviously it's good. But for me, I will probably not give this one the higher score just because like you do have that portion of it. But this one is looking rank 3, so it's looking extremely well if you compare that to any of the other one. Let's say even in the likes of like 4 Army Double Zeta, I don't think it has the best of a portrait. No, that one has the EXQ, so you can kind of skip that one out as well. Wing Zero Endless World version, that one came out with like the Revive Alteration. That one can be a good option as well, but the problem you're looking at this time around, I also did include the word tag, so you guys can be seeing what is going to be a good build. For that Wing Zero Endless World version, you do have a pro tag, so it's not going to be optimal, right? You're gonna have the end of the day kind of sacrifice on a slot for that pro tag, so not gonna be the best at all. And then hot scramble is bad because it's also not the best, right, if I recall. So that is that. So the list kind of go on and on right there, but you guys can see that this is currently one of the like the better head part you're looking at. Like we have not seen a optimal, right? But what I mean optimal, like a good solid split of like, alright, shooting attack, EXQ power boosting that has great word tags. You can look at Shining like Star Winning at them. That is gonna be our real project unit. The tag is not good. You have Ace or you have Gundam type and then Transformer. Not your most ideal setup for say. So I'm like, come on. So moving on. So I would say this one you can alterate it if you need, like if you need a good head with stats, this one is definitely it. But you're gonna have to keep in mind that you really want to optimize it by having like an arm EXQ by at all times. Because if you don't, I think all the other part is just not gonna hit as hard compared to the arm, right? All right, so moving on to chest over here. So let's see what we have. In terms of the chest, you are looking at some pretty insane stat already. Coming in at 6,700, obviously with a little bit of an inflated because of that 40% change here. If you're talking about some better ones out here, I don't think you do. In terms of some better ones, I will have to say that maybe the High New Gundam version. I think that one is obviously good. I think that one is a little bit better than what you're gonna be looking at in terms of the full package over here. Just because the portrait in this one, I would say is not the best, right? But you see some insane high armor for a shooting build over here, so that's quite surprised. Oh, physical resistance is also good as well, so that can be useful depending on like you talk about some specific arena mode. Obviously, let's say in the likes of physical resistant battle bonus arena, that's gonna be good. In terms of defensive value, it's okay, right? It's decent enough, not the highest, for example. But let's actually take a look at the word tag wise. Word tag wise is portrait wise is yeah. If you guys like to troll your opponents to having some revive, this one is definitely gonna be the part you want to be looking at. But we definitely have some better options already if you want to have like a troll unit. Because if you look at the Stargazer chest, it's exactly the same thing. You get a little bit of a health recovery as well. So I would say this one, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say, oh, this one is a must. If you guys are building like a tank unit, like a all defensive purposes unit, I would say this one is definitely gonna be a good option. Because if your opponent is able to break through your defensive wall and let's say kill you, you can definitely come back around with 60% more health. So your opponent will have an extremely tough time trying to take you out. So in that regards, if you want to play like a funny build, that type of genre, I think this is good. But if you talk about usability, I would say no, this one is not having it. So we can just kind of skip the chest right here. In terms of the tag wise, ace exclusive and high firepower, definitely a good option right there. Because I just think the portrait wise is just not having it, right? I will not completely say that I will double sub slot or have this one as the main slot and then sub slot another one of this as the sub slot for whatever boost. Because the portrait is just not good. I can't do it. So that's my opinion on that. If you guys do like your chest because of the stat, definitely is. I'll give you guys that, but you guys better find a better sub slot option if you guys are gonna be using that. 10% better. So I need to hurry up with this alteration review right here. Moving into the arm is unfortunately what I have said and don't want. It's gonna be a arm plus the integrated shield. Yeah, I guess that's a problem with any strike freedom because you do have a beam shield right there. So and beam energy shield. So yeah. So in terms of the stat for this guy is busted. In terms of what you guys are looking at, arm and in terms of let's say melee and shot, they are both extremely good. I'm just gonna focus specifically on that shooting build because this unit itself is more of like a shooting based unit, so that's why we're gonna be focusing on that. You can see some defensive value for both is breaking 10,000, but one mistake people always will be doing is gonna put this one on the main slot because they say, oh look at all my stuff right there. But what you guys are actually losing out in terms of your shield slot, you guys are losing out portrait. So you're not gonna do good damage with only raw like parameter. You're gonna need portrait. So that's why I would say this one is definitely gonna be good for a sub slot. But if you are gonna put this on a sub slot, keep that in mind that your whatever stat you guys are looking at right here will be cut in half. Because that's how ARM plus the integration works. Because if you are gonna sub slot this one, it has the full benefit of 13,000 melee attack and 11,000 melee defense. Like no, that's gonna be too broken, right? So in terms of like Cassie EXO, I would say alterate it at your own risk anyways, because this one is not your SS plus power. I'm surprised they did not give this one like an SS tier power modifier, so I would say probably not. Because in terms of what the effects is packing is not like the best. For example, you get melee power, you get melee attack increase to your squad on a shooting based unit. Wow, way to go. So I don't like. Yeah, that's the problem with this unit over here. It wants to do two of both things in this game, which it does not work. It just does not. This one's specifically giving out like a melee power boosting, so I would say this one is gonna be more using like most viable in a melee build oranges. So this one is not gonna work. It's not gonna work that well with whatever this suit is trying to build. So this unfortunate. This one's also gonna give melee attack increases, melee defenses increases, and also beam resistant by 29%. That beam resistant is like it's just there for show. You're not really gonna tank all that much if you guys are just gonna be based on like a normal build scheduling. Because if you guys are looking at a tanky build, that 29% can kind of save you. But if you're looking at a general build, just like a regular power boosting build or whatever, other than that, you're not gonna tank. So 29%, I would rather have that as a health recovery. So just a little unfortunate, or even speed. I'd rather take speed than having, let's say, beam resistant, I would have to say. So that's my opinion on that. If you guys do want to alterate this one, by all means you can, but it's just not good. So alright, moving on to, now we can just move on to the leg right now. Let's see what the leg have in store for us over here. So in terms of the leg, you guys can see that armor is surprisingly high for this type of unit. Let me see the chest. Chest is 6,000. Arm plus the integration shield. I can't really look at that. What about the head? Was good. I remember the head was good. So quite surprised. This one would definitely be a tanky shooting build unit. The defenses is not like the highest of the highest, so I don't need to mention that this one will be good for a shot defense. Orange arena mode. Beam or physical resistance is still up there. But I recall the original strike freedom is a little bit higher, depending what you guys are looking at. This is where you're gonna see some portrait or overtech changes over here. So you're gonna have ace exclusive and Gundam type. So in terms of the leg, you're currently ranked number 3, but the best, obviously the best leg to be using currently in today's meta is gonna be the full armor unicorn power type. That one is gonna be the best one right there because you do have a 40% trait. That is obviously gonna be for like your power boosting build. But what this like specifically is for is actually gonna be for a 100 like one part to that 100% cooldown reduction build, EXQ cooldown reduction build over here. Um, in terms of the first portrait, you are going to be getting some EXQ power boosting, which is good. So you can definitely throw this onto like a melee build for whatever reason you need to be. So that's going to be good. In terms of second power or second portrait, you are going to see some funny things over here. The portrait right there, in terms of the condition, wants you to be using a high firepower base over here. But whatever the word tag is giving out is only Gundam type. So why? Yeah, I questioned myself when I look at the portrait here, like in terms of the actual word chain, I'm like, this is a little bit funny. So this one is definitely gonna be it for like a high firepower build and Gundam type build, for example. So if you are gonna be, let's say, bridging out to, let's say, if you are gonna be using this part and bridging out to, let's say, commander build, ace exclusive commander, you definitely have to be using high firepower because that is, I believe, the only one that is required on this kit over here. It does not require to, let's say, use Gundam type for any of the parts. So I would say definitely high firepower is going to be a priority when you guys are building this one over here. So this one is good, but I will say that this is going to be a expensive parts to be looking at if you want to build like a 100% cooldown build. I say that because we have, I believe, currently the best option in terms of like easy to get up to a portrait level 10. It's gonna be the GOP custom. That is gonna be a warfare part that have access to a EXQ power, EXQ cooldown reduced by 20%. So I would definitely go for that option instead. If you guys do want to build out like a 100% cooldown build, it's one of those builds where you guys see a lot, like you see those players constantly spam your EXQ. Those are types of build I'm talking about. It's not a hack. It's not a cheat. It's actually doable. I have done it many times on my channel. So if you guys have any of your friends or any of your colleagues playing this game that says like, why is this player is cheating? Why is he able to use custom EXQ all the time? Let them know that it's these portrait over here. EXQ cooldown reduced by 20%. You need 5 of these. When you have, let's say, around 90 to a 95% cooldown reduction over here, you can definitely consistently activate your EXQ without any problem. So do let them know that it's not a cheat, it's not a hack. This is a actually doable thing over here. So let's actually move on. So in terms of this part over here, I would say it's good, but we would rather go for something that's gonna be easy to form up. So I would say this one is gonna be a hot skip for me as well, just because it's gonna be impossible to, let's say, kind of utilize the second portrait by any means. So we'll just kind of skip that for now. In terms of the backpack, let's see the backpack. Let's see what the backpack have for us over here. In terms of the backpack, you are gonna be continue to have that trend of having that extremely high armor base over here. That's good. Defensive value, you do see a little bit of a higher digit. Shot attack just a little bit lower than what we have seen for the other part. So far, in terms of the physical resistance, it's good up there as well. In terms of like looking at everything in terms of like a shooting base, this one is gonna be a rank 2. Extremely good. That's, yeah, that is like right underneath the Wing Zero Endless version, just a little bit higher than Start Winning actually. So not bad. Unfortunately, I was not, man. I talk about summoning. I have the worst of luck on summoning on these two units, so I'm just gonna take my L for this time around and just gonna call it a day. I probably went back in. I'm probably, let's say, 60,000 hardships deep. So I'm not going back in. I'm done. I'm defeated. That's that. In terms of what they did, they're gonna be giving us the rogue cannon that are usually on the leg. So I wish they could make this into a custom EXQ with the dragoons shooting out, like forming that full burst mode. But no, they want to give us like a magazine type. A 21-second cooldown EXQ over here that has the capability of going to A- over here. It's gonna be a barrage enemy with dual railguns, so that's pretty much it. So I would say Alteration definitely for the stat. I think that is gonna be a good factor, you know, coming at to that 6,000, or what is it, 6,085 is definitely a good digit to be looking at. And then whatever subside you want to be doing, definitely have some portrait in it. That would be good. But other than that, I'm just pretty disappointed on how they have handled the back EXQ over here. But I would say This one I'm not gonna have any objection or like let's say alterating it for the stat purposes. It's definitely up there. Word chat wise, it's gonna be excellent build for a shooting build, obviously. So no complaints over here if you guys do want to alterate it for the stat purposes. But the EXQ base, if you guys just want it for the EXQ, I would say having it at base and alterate version is already good. B plus power is definitely enough to kind of get you by to any event, I would say. If you do want a little bit of a step up in terms of damage, obviously alterate it. That will definitely give you whatever power you will need, obviously. So that is that. But alright, let's actually move on to some funner parts over here. I would say the weaponry for the perfect requiem is definitely the highlight. It's definitely it. So let's begin. In terms of what they have done for the melee weapon, both the saber and then the blade, this is truly the best weapon they have built in a long time. I had predicted this in my overall video. I did not think that they were gonna be giving out like a 25. I did not predict this part over here. This is not the one I predicted, or not the part that I really like was hoping they would be doing. But they actually give us the initial EXP charge boosted by 25%. This is the highest percentage we have in game right now. But granted, this one is going to be solely to a shooting or to a S or to a speed attribute. So you're gonna be looking at an extremely tight fit over here. And not only that, they're also gonna be restricting this to only high firepower over here. So anybody using it like a Gundam type build that has a Gundam type on the word check is not gonna be too much of a happy camper over here. So this one is definitely the best one you are gonna be looking at. But I would say there are drawbacks in terms of like conditions over here. Yes, you do have to be using it in S attribute, and yes, you do have to be using it in high firepower. If you guys cannot meet these two requirements, I will not say, do you guys even want to, let's say, force the build to be an S type build? Probably not. If you guys don't have enough good setup for like an S type build for a shooting build, I would say don't force right through it, because that's probably gonna be a lot more harder to come by. But you guys want to look like the stat for this sword over here, the standalone sword, you're looking at 12,929. That is currently the highest melee conversion you guys are looking at over here. I'm like, what? They cannot just do that. They did. Wow, I'm like, that's crazy. If you have a 25% at max, all right, let's actually look at that at base. You guys are looking at a 15% on base. On regular, like an EXQ initial charge, you're looking at only 60%. So you're starting out at, let's say, around the same level. If you compare this to the regular one, this is around, let's say, portrait level 8. Or yeah, that's crazy. This thing is starting out at 15% right out the bat. I'm like, what? Insane. So if you guys do pull this one is definitely gonna be it to kind of alterate and kind of slap this one onto like your shooting build. This one is a golden part to be using. This one will not age at all. This one will continue to be good, relevant, until, let's say, they bump it to, let's say, 30% initial charging and then 50%. But that will never happen. Not never, but it will not happen right now. So this one will be good. If you guys have this part right now, definitely hold on to it, alterate it, and this one is good. So no complaints right here. This one is definitely good. But man, the saber is not even crazy. They actually did what I said we needed a melee weapon for a shooting build that has a double power boosting. They gave it to us. Look at this. Look at this right here. But let's kind of talk about the cons first. First portrait condition, you are gonna take 20% that melee damage, so that's not gonna be too good in terms of like going against like a shooting based unit over here. So that's gonna be a problem you guys gonna have to kind of like evade if possible. In terms of the second portrait, this one is only going to be dedicated to a beam weaponry. So yeah, so that's going to be like your drawing layer there. You cannot really use any physical. Look what they did. Look at this. Physical shot. Why? Why would you do that? Unfortunate right there, right? But this thing is a monster. This one is also going to be ranked #1 in terms of looking at the blade category. This one, what is the next? Let me see. Give me a second. Let me see. In terms of the blade, let's look at the blade category specifically. The one below that is gonna be the full saber, the double quantum full saber. That one is coming in at 12,000 334. This one has 600 points more, like crazy. Oh my gosh. This sword, this combiner sword right here is looking at 18 or 11,800 on base. We're not even looking at any of those conversion gears, and then after that, after you convert that 12,900. Oh my gosh, this thing is a monster, man. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they do that. What's good about the sword? You could definitely throw this onto your shooting build. I think this is probably the best place you want to be throwing on. But what's good about how they built out the war tag? You can actually throw this onto your to your melee build, no problem. Because this is the EX skill power, so this encompasses both melee and shooting EX skill. So, but my only concern is that the war tag wise is not going to be too much of a support to your melee build, but you can definitely do it. Just judging by those numbers that you're looking at over here. So, by any means, if you guys do want to put this onto like your melee build, you can do that, but just make sure you can kind of like make room for whatever war tags. You do have 3 word tags that you can kind of, it's more for like a throwaway if you cannot really get that subslots trait, so or subslot tag. So this one is good. You can put this on both build. I would say, yeah, this sword right here is just good. No complaints about that. But moving on to, let's say, the actual ranged weapon, the stat is quite disappointing. The stat over here is only going to be up to a 12,118. Not even any shot defense for whatever reason, so that's bad. In terms of this one over here, the word tag wise, exclusive and Gundam type. And then the EX skill, this one does have EX skill, so I'm not gonna be the biggest fan of, let's say, having this on my actual main build. So if you guys do want to alterate the Igni over here just for the like in the animation, obviously you can go for that. And you would have to alterate it if you want to do the maximum damage, because pre-alteration you're only looking at D power, so obviously you would have to alterate it to get the maximum damage. So you are going to be looking at a B plus at base over here, so that's going to be good. That's going to be definitely good. So if, let's say you want to be using that, make sure you do alterate it and not put this on your main build. You can put this in your main build, for example, but let's say if you want a subslot, make sure your subslot has a good portrait that can kind of support that. If not, throw this onto your skin and just use this EXT for fun. So that's that. I'm not gonna give too much into like whether or not to alterate it. Alterate it if only if you like the EXU. Other than that, I don't see too much of a value alterating that. So moving on to the rifle this time around, it's only the Igni over here, or the Hyper Impulse Cannon Igni over here. In terms of this one over here, I would say I'm not the biggest fan, so I'm not even gonna like say let's tell you guys I'll alterate this one. This one is not good. Reason being, when attribute is affinitive to enemy is advantageous. So what that means is, when you guys are fighting type advantage, that's when you are going to be getting that power boosting. So if you guys are fighting type neutral or type disadvantage, that shooting power will not trigger. So this one is just bad already. And the second portrait is only going to be increasing job gauge by 20%, which is kind of like, it's good for what it's trying to do. But I would say that if you guys do have the 4-star job gear, you get the job gear 100% on the base already. So I don't see too much of a point in alterating this one either. So I would have to say gonna be a skip for me in terms of this one over here. But if you guys do want this purely for the stat, obviously you can go for that. And then let's say you did not put a second copy of the let's say the rifle over here, you can definitely go over to the big scale and find yourself the big scale, let's say RH72. I believe it does have ace exclusive, so that would probably give you a little bit of a advantage right there as well. So let's say for whatever reason you cannot pull the second copy, so that is that. So just looking overall at everything, it's quite hard. I think the only 2 good things I would want to alterate from the Perfect Strike Freedom, just me personally, is only going to be the saber and then a blade. All the other one, I'm just saying, it's just quite not up there. Obviously the stats are good, but let's be honest, right? Every new unit that has came out is obviously going to be on the top 10 list. That's not gonna be no doubt about that. But it's the portrait that these guys are packing. It's just not. I'm not satisfied with them. They could be better, you know. Obviously, but I think what this one specifically is more Sena. She is more of like a supporting role, I guess. So they want to kind of embed that onto this build as well. So that's why you can see that you're not gonna die after you take zero. Like after you hit 0, you are gonna recover. But ideally, that is more for like a want to build play fun type build, most like ideally you wouldn't really want that run that. So that's my take on that. Do let me know like what are your options in terms of these parts over here. I'm just a little bit disappointed on just the overall build, just in general, except the saber and then the blade. I think those are good. Those are definitely good, just in my opinion over here. While I'm at it, let me actually just go over to talk about the Mikazu August over here, and then we can just kind of wrap this up. So, Mikazuki over here is currently, I would say, definitely one of like top 2 best melee pilot to be using in terms of the build project. Is this something you would say I want to grind up for and kind of alterate? If you guys right, let's say you guys have the funds to kind of spend 1500 to alterate or to get this guy over here. Obviously, he's an excellent pilot to be using on a melee build. Obviously, you know, portrait wise, it's going to be a little bit geared towards physical, so you have to be using physical as an EX skill or you just any damage dealing in general. Double melee power boosting, but I would say in terms of condition, you have to be using high firepower. That I would say is something not a lot of people can kind of satisfy. So that is going to be your drawback. 2 drawbacks: have to be using physical and only high firepower. So if you guys can kind of fulfill these 2 requirements, I would say kind of go for it. If you guys have the funds, obviously. But all means, if you guys don't have it, it's not the worst case scenario, because you do also have Stella. I think Stella is also a stellar one to be using. No pun intended right there. Where's she at? Where is Stella? I think she's probably up here, maybe. Stella. Let me filter this out by palettes to be easier. Okay, let me see. Stella, where you at? Stella. Okay, she's right here. In terms of Stella, she's definitely the same thing over here, but I think she's just a little bit worse in terms of melee attack. But she's definitely a better option, maybe. I think high mobility has a little bit more usage than, let's say, high firepower, maybe. I don't know, or maybe they're both equally. So if you guys do have Stella already, she's definitely gonna be a good option as well. I would say her advantage is she does have a little bit of a coverage to, let's say, to a defender job lesson as well, so she can definitely be your tanking unit as well. But in terms of Mikazu, excuse me, he has access to both in and out fighters, so you can definitely run them both. If whatever portrait throws at you that wants you to be using outfighter, you can go for outfighter. If whatever portrait is throwing at you that's infighter, you can definitely use that, right? So that is gonna be it. Just gonna be the Alteration review for the Perfect Strike Freedom, and then as well as the build project pilot, the Mikazu August over here. So that being said, that should be pretty much it. And then I'll catch you guys next with the Phantom Gundam review as well.